recording. There we go. And I'll do this. Oops, do I need to do? Yep, I do, sorry.
What, allowing me to share the screen?
Yeah, so now try again. I've got to fix that. I had it in on my other login. I've got to change just a setting that you can make that the default. Okay. All righty.
Okay, well, I guess the first thing that I want to talk about is line type. I created these. These are boundaries, and I've used what I think is supposed to be the boundary line type, but it's coming through as a solid line.
Okay.
And these are overhead power lines.
Power, right.
And the same thing is true, and this is an overhead power line. And the same thing is true of those. So I don't know what I've done there. Evidently, I've done something.
Most likely that's a line type scale issue. And we could compare it to the drawing that we took this from, but most likely it's this issue. And this is something that I fault AutoCAD. I put the blame at AutoCAD for this is, let's see, I'll show you where it is. Let me request remote control. And but when you first do a drawing and you go through this drawing setup and you set the scale here, this is a factor. Like you're telling it that you want every ½ inch, you want to repeat the pattern on line types. Well, it multiplies that by this, and it comes up and sets your line type scale to 50 because that's half of 100. Okay. But the line type scale needs to be 1. And the reason that it does this 0.5 and makes it 50 is for those people that use the Carlson generated line types. Excuse me, but most modern users now will use AutoCAD created line types, things that are done outside of that Carlson line type creation. And that is built around everything being on a unit line type scale as opposed to matching your plot scale line type scale. It's just it's just a factor, and it's something that AutoCAD has always had an issue with, is these line type scales, and there's several things involved. So this LT scale is most likely, you see how that fixed that one and this one.
Yeah.
So I was going to say it's most likely that. There's also 2 variables. There is PS LT scale, which means paper space line type scale, and that's either on or off. And I think by default it is off. But I think we have it set both to on. And then there's also an MS LT scale, and that's for model space. And so that's if when you come over here and you do a regen all, then it shows up like so. Okay. Now, there's a couple of things going on here too. As you see, this line is solid. Is that meant to be?
No.
Okay, so if I select that, that is a polyline I see up here, which is good. And it's the entire outline. But what happens is that let me see, maybe something else is going on. Anyway, there is a feature of polylines that are drawn with line types. And that is called line type generation. And it's a property of these line types. So if I select that and I come over here to the properties and scroll all the way down to the bottom and it says line type generation, right now it says no. And what that means is this, I'm going to change that to yes. And then that's going to push that line pattern all the way along this feature, and it doesn't restart it at every corner. Okay. When you do have it set to no, then what happens is it draws, it starts here and it goes out and it tries to get enough distance to get a pattern repetition in. And when it hits the next vertex, it starts that over again. Okay. So, so when I look at this one, I've got a vertex here and the next vertex is way over here, even though you do see the midpoint on the arc. Then there's enough distance to get two patterns in, and I get to here and come down to here, and it doesn't have enough to do there. Although I think what's going on here looks like you've got two. Yeah, there are multiple things there. There's, you see this one, if I select it, you see how I can see the dash
Yeah,
over here. But there's also this other one that's right here. Let me see.
it's that little skinny parcel. That's a separate parcel.
Yeah. And so if if you've got your, and if you need to have your parcels as closed polylines, and sometimes we do, because we want to always, measure their areas or whatever, and if they're annotated, then what you have to do is you draw those parcels on a layer, and then you would freeze that layer and you would redraw this stuff or copy it to a layer that you're going to use to plot with, and you would only put a single polyline right here. You wouldn't put one that goes like this and then another one that goes like this. You would just put 1, 2, 3 legs on that, and then you would have this one go all the way around.
Right.
That would be the approach to that. Now, the other thing is, we've got our LT scale set to 1, which is what we probably want. Now, individually, these polylines also have a line type scale. So you see right here. So the LT scale, when we changed it with our settings up here, and we changed it to 1, that sets it globally, so that any line type we create will be drawn at that scale. Now, if we want to change things individually, then we would do something like this. Whereas if we select a given polyline, and let's say we wanted to make that line type scale, let's say 0.5, 0.5. So it will change by itself and leave the other ones unchanged, okay? But if we typed LT scale or did it up there with their settings, and we made that 0.5 globally, then it changes everything globally. And then I would put this one back to 1. So it would multiply by that 0.5. So, you know, that's probably, that's a little bit better pattern distribution anyway, of 0.5. Now, back what I was talking about before this, that line type generation,
Mhm.
you see the corners here?
Yeah, actually, that must be on the wrong layer. That's supposed to be a building. So that should be a solid line.
Okay.
So
Well,
it probably is on the wrong layer.
yeah, that's on setback limit.
Yeah,
So,
right.
so now we'll fix that, but this is a perfect example to show you what the difference is with that LT generator or the line type generation is by itself. It says, yes, it is on. And that means that it generates the pattern regardless of how many twists and turns. So it keeps the pattern flowing and it just goes right around the corner and it doesn't start over again. However, in a case like this one, you would probably want it to start over again so that you'd always have a corner at the corner. Okay. Now, granted, it's going to be solid because it's on, should be on building. But that's something that you would change individually for each of those items that you might want to turn on and off. So in a case like buildings or any kind of sort of geometric, you know, rectangular type features, or anything where you definitely need to see each corner, you want to have that off. But think about contour lines for a minute, Mike. If you've got contour lines and you draw them with dashes like that to indicate like existing contours, if you have it turned off so that every time it hits a vertex, it starts over, then those contour lines are going to be where those vertices are real close together. It restarts the line pattern at every vertex. So you get these chunks of every contour line look like solid lines, and they don't have enough room to draw the pattern until it gets enough distance between the vertices to be able to fit the pattern in. So for contours, you always want them to have line type generation on. Okay, so you would, you know, if when they were drawn, if that variable was set on or off, then that's the property of that particular polyline is what that variable is set to will control the future polyline that you draw. Just like setting a specific layer or a specific color or something, then that becomes your current value. And you can set that by I think when you have nothing selected, I believe you can set things like that globally. Like here's your global line type scale. And I do not. Yeah, so it's not one that you can set in the properties. So you would have to do it one of two other ways. You either type the variable name, or you would go down to settings, IntelliCAD settings, system variable editor. And you would scroll down and find, let's see, is there a search? No, anyway. But the variable is called P-line, stands for polyline. So P-line gen, okay? It can be 0 or 1. Right now it is set to 1. And it tells you that sets the generation around the polyline vertices. 0 means it's off, 1 means it's on. So if we want them to be on by default, so that we're drawing a lot of contours and we don't start that over, we need to set this value to 1. That's what it is right now. Now, this also, if you see in this editor right here, it says that it is stored, this value for this variable is stored in the drawing. That means if I set it here in this drawing, and then if I go and open up a new drawing or open up another drawing, it doesn't set this globally so that every time I run AutoCAD, it's on. I have to set that in each drawing. Okay.
Okay.
So, and that would, if it was going to store globally, then it would be this in registry, and you can't change this. This is just telling you what it is or where it's stored. So what we do is, if I always want it on so that my contours look good, and if I have to change something like this building to make the corners show up, I change that individually. So, and I think the default condition with AutoCAD is that it is off. So to make it such that it is on all the time, I turn the variable on while I am in the template drawing. And then when I save that template drawing, it carries that value with it. Okay. So that'll fix that. So now let's go ahead and fix a couple of these things here. Let's put this on the layer it goes on. And that's going to be building.
BLD. Yeah.
Okay. And let's fix this overlap. Now, do you need to keep this as a closed polyline and then?
Well, I need to be able to give areas for them separately. But once I calculate the area for that small one, I could break that easternmost line.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, let me ask you a question. I think I figured it out, but this is parallel to this line by 50 feet. It's a proposed access easement.
Okay.
And well, it's touching now. Maybe it just did an RGen. I trimmed this, and it trimmed it about a ½ foot on this side of that line.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on with that is the fact, is that an arc? Yeah, see, that's a circle. Yeah. And it was just, you had to do a regen because the circle, if I look at, let's draw a circle, put this on. This layer. Oops, I want to put it on. Put it on something solid. So when I do that, and then if I should happen to zoom in like that, you see that's what was going on. Okay. So if I'd had a line that went from, let's say, the center of the circle. And I went up to, say, here. And then if I said trim, use that as my cutting element, and now I'll chop that off. Whoops. Trim. Chopped it off there. All right, so that looks like it's, you see it sticking over the edge there?
Yeah,
But if I just do a regen all, it redraws it as a circle. That's
okay,
that's what's called some display list issues going on. Now,
okay,
one way you can avoid that from happening most of the time is another one of those variables, and that's called view res or view resolution, VIEWRES.
mm-hmm,
And it can range from, and I'll show you it over here as well, settings, IntelliCAD settings, system variable. And I come all the way down here to the V's. And it is view. For heaven's sakes, where is it not? It's not listed in here. Carlson. That's bad. All right, so view res. It is also, maybe it's not a system variable. Maybe it's just a setting. So if I look at IntelliCAD drawing aids, display, I don't see it there either, but anyway. View res, and then we'd answer that, yes, we do want fast zooms, but if not, now here's your range. You can range anywhere from 1 to 20,000, and the higher the number, the more it's going to try to maintain circles at various zoom levels instead of segmenting them into those pieces. So, and by default, it's always been sort of low back from the days in the early days, years and years and years ago, when video memory was very expensive, and you know, we didn't have the ability to have it regenerate these drawings all the time. So now that we do, there's no reason why we wouldn't go ahead and put it all the way up here to the maximum range. And so now, if you remember when I drew that circle, which was out here, and I zoomed way in on it and it went segmented. So
yeah,
now watch what happens when I zoom in on it. You see, it still looks like a circle.
yeah,
I would have to get really, really, really close before I would even notice the segments, and I doubt I'm even going to get that close. Yeah, you can start maybe to see a little. I can't even really tell from there. Okay. So, so anyway, that's another one of those holdovers, and that's
yeah,
also one of those variables that saves with each drawing. So if you get a drawing in from some other client or a team member or something, whatever is set in the drawing is going to be what it is. So if you keep noticing that, try to remember to type that variable name view res, VIEWRES, stands for view resolution, and
okay,
set that number up higher. Okay.
okay.
And then when you save your drawing, it saves with it. Now,
So I should just do that automatically on every drawing the first time.
I would, or, open up the drawing template that you would use set it
Okay.
in there, and then save that template, and it will store it and apply it when you start a new drawing with that template.
Okay.
All right, now these gray lines here, I presume are adjoiners.
Yeah.
Like it. And it seemed I thought a joiner had like a dashed line type. It's got this 09 B013, which is a long dash, double short dash line. So long dash and a double short dash. Is that what that should be? It looks like a property line, but smaller.
Yeah, I guess. I don't, it's what was on the other drawing.
Okay.
We can look at the other drawing and see what it looks like on it.
Yeah, let's take a look. We may need to set the scale down a little bit. For that one individually. Yeah, or even like, so now that would make it look like that. So now
Okay,
that,
there's one more over on the left, on the right side of the drawing.
yeah. And probably this one as well.
Yeah.
So I'm making those 0.2 and they pick up those patterns. So, so what I would do in that particular case is probably try to find that line style, which right now is set by this 09B013. And I would probably try to find it. I would either redefine the line style, but now that gets into some programming type stuff. So I'm not going to burden you with that. But you see this one here,
Yeah.
this Phantom 2 or this Phantom. Those are the ones that are the standard AutoCAD type line styles, and they should really work with a line type scale of 1. Right now, I had to set it down to 0.2 to get it to show up. So let's just set that to Phantom, which is what that is. Now you're going to see it, because they're 0.2, see how tiny it makes the pattern?
Yeah.
So now if I select one, and let's go ahead and select similar so we can get them all. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Up here it tells us 4. And let's come down here, and instead of changing that scale to 0.2, let's put it back to 1, just a unit value. And let's see if, okay, well, that's still a little big. Come over here for a second. All right. Yeah, and go back to this. Did it fix it? 1 to 1. All right, so that's even still not quite enough with these shorter lines. So we could change that individually for each one, or instead of using Phantom, let's see if we could use the other one, Phantom, and then Phantom 2 is typically, that will be drawn at a different scale. And those, when you see the 2, that means it's typically drawn at half the normal scale. So if I make it Phantom 2, then instead. Now you can start to see these show up. Okay, this one doesn't quite have enough.
Could make it a little longer.
Yeah, you can make it a little longer. It's not an arc. Yeah, it is an arc. So instead of just taking a grip edit on that, let's keep that circular. So we're going to extend by distance this. And if, let's say we did it, say from, yeah, just enough. See, so no matter where, let's say if I click it out here, you see it still just extends the arc, and it would keep drawing it around in a circle.
Okay.
So that works for that. What about this guy here? Is it also?
Well, that's actually the
That's
power line.
power line. Okay.
I don't actually have, I have not drawn a joiner line there yet, but it'll be pretty much where the power line is.
Okay. All right. So, well, and that's okay if they're on top of each other, that's fine. All right. So there's one that is from there to there, and that's it. And then this one goes from there on. So is that, should that be all the same line?
Yeah.
So I would just do a join nearest, make sure our distance is good. We'll set this to fill it with 0 just in case they're slightly off. I don't want to change their orientation. There we go. So now that has that. Now, and the same thing here. That's another one, and here. That's one there. But looks like this one is individual to that one, so I would join those because you notice, you see how long this is, and then it starts, hits that vertex.
Right.
So as long as I join those together, you see it, you won't actually see that corner, but the pattern is consistent. It's the same distance apart. Now you could see the corner. It just depends on where the pattern happens to hit. What you would normally do though, is you would put a power pole at that intersection. You know, if that's.
Well, I think there is a power pole there. I think it's on a layer that's turned off. It's probably on the center line layer, because I was shooting that stuff.
All right, let me, so I turned it on to see, I'm going to select it, and I see that it's on center line. It sure is. Now I'm going to undo what I just did so that the layer settings go back to what they were. And then you could turn on individually that center line. Right here. So there is my center lines. I'll thaw them. And let's, should have utils or something. I don't see that. Let's see, what layer is this on? EUOH wire. So I could then, instead of having it on center line, I would put that on that EU, which I guess stands for existing utility.
Yeah.
There it is, EOH wires. Okay, so that now would be that. Now you've got the problem of, and let's go back and freeze center lines.
Up there.
So now you got the problem of the OHs are hitting the symbol. So there's a couple of ways we'll adjust those. Now, because I have changed this to have that symbol or have the entire point on that layer called EU, then the point number and the description are also turned on for that because we haven't frozen that individually. So you see all the point numbers in the description. And that may be what you want. It may not be what you want. If you don't.
No, let me show you what I do there. I open it up and I just take the drawing description off, and let me change that to PowerPoll.
Yeah, well, now your drawing description versus your CRD file description. So the drawing description is what's in the drawing, and the CRD, that's actually changing the description of that point in your coordinate file. So
yeah, no, I needed to do that.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, you don't have to do that, and they don't have to match, as you saw there, they didn't. So
right
now, to fix that symbol, for the overhead power line, we would change the scale of that individually. We select that, and we would come up here and set that to be a little different value. So I'm going to actually, to make sure that I get them all to match so that I select them all, I selected one and I right clicked and said select similar, because I don't want one to have a different scale than the other. Now I can either make that a little smaller or a little bigger. And I think I'm going to just spread these out. If I make that a little bigger, let's say 1 1/4, then I say, okay, that splits it out pretty nicely.
yeah
Okay. And you can see, and even that might be, let's say, you might even set it to something like 2.5 inches, which that, now watch what happens when, whoops, let me set here as 2.5, or 2.5 times that. Now, here's the problem with doing that, is that might be good to set the occurrence interval, but it blows the letters up. You see?
yeah
So we can't really do that way. So let's put that back to 1/4. So that now looks a bit more reasonable. Now there's a couple of other things that are happening here as well. When you see this OH like this, if I were just looking at this, say on a plat like over here, I would look at that and I would tend to read it like this, and I would read it as HO instead of OH, right?
yeah
So what you do for that, line styles, the patterns of the styles always go in the same direction that the line was created. So this one was created from here up to here when it was drawn. And if you need to flip that, there's a couple of ways. There is on the annotate symbol, or annotate menu, I mean, probably under line types, do I see a flip? No, they've got to flip labels, but that's your bearings and distances, so that's not that. All right. But anyway, just the fact that it's there. So what we need to do is to reverse the direction of that. So instead of under the annotate, we're going to look at it on the polyline toolbar, It's also under edit polyline utilities. Reverse polyline, you see that icon?
Yeah,
So up there it is on our toolbar right here. And if we click this, it shows you these little glyphs, those little arrows. They're just temporary to show you now that's the direction it goes in, and you see the letters changed. If I
yeah.
click it again, it puts it back. And if I click it again, it puts it. So that's the way we want that to read. Same thing down here. You see how it looks like ho. So if I click that, it now reads OH. So that now looks good. This looks good. So that should all work. Now, there's another spot where that one now hits this corner. So we would need to adjust that slightly again, just sort of finding out, you know, where these symbols are. You know, just sort of some trial and error. So I would select that one, right click, select similar. And instead of 1 1/4, let's see what 1.1 maybe. All right, so that cleared up that one. How did it do over here? Looks good there. Yeah, that's probably okay. And that one's, might want to make it just slightly different. This all looks good here. And that's really okay. I mean, you can, you know, your mind's going to fill that in that it does connect to the pole, or you could make it just something like 1.15. That's a little too much. 1.11, let's try. Oops, see, too much the other way, or not enough. 1.12, 1.13, 1.14. It's just not quite. Enough. 1.2. 1.2 gives us a little bit past that one, but that still puts it back into that corner. So I think what we'll do is select it, select similar, and put that back to 1.1. I think they gave us their best results. We're off that pole. We're off that pole. That was good. We're off here, and there's just that slight little bit. Now, this being a point with a wipeout in it, I'm gonna guess. Looks like there's a double thing. So if I select all of those, I want them to be in the front. Now they used to be in the front, but because we changed those lines, they then became layered on the front because they had an edit made to the line. So when you see these circles fill in with the lines and you thought you had changed it before, that's simply because you've changed the line and it now gets redefined and it's replaced on top of that symbol that was not redefined.
Okay.
Okay, so that's it. Now, to fix the property line issue here, what I like to do is if I need to keep these as continuously closed polylines, and I would quite often think that I would need to keep those. What I would do is I would have that, you know, this is on a layer called boundary, okay? But I would make one maybe called, I'd make another layer, and I'm going to show you a little trick here. I'm going to go up here to boundary, and I'm going to make that current by double clicking it. Okay. Now, when you do that, then if you make a new layer, it's going to take on those same characteristics. So you see there's phantom, it's
Mhm.
red and all that. So what I'm going to call this one is boundary underscore calc. And that's going to be one. In fact, I may even want to change its properties here. I'll keep the line style. What's this? V prop site. It looks like it was also a layer used for property. But anyway, so if I have this boundary calc versus boundary, then that lets me make copies of those lines, and I can put those continuous features on boundary calc and use them to do my calculation, but use boundary to do the plotting so that I don't have to have a closed figure. I can break that segment out. So what you have to do though is to keep track and realize you've got two different things representing the same thing. But if you want to do it this way, then what I'm going to do is to copy all of those boundary lines onto that boundary calc layer. And you could simply, select one, and then you could say, right click copy, and you could click a point and say, move it 0 distance. But we have a command for that one as well under edit, copy to layer. Okay. So if we copy to a layer, we're going to select the ones that we want to do. So I'm going to select that one and that one. And through selecting, I could get this one over here, but I don't really need it. That's just showing the right of one. Okay. So I'll set those, and now it wants to know, it tells me my current layer. Now, which one do I want to copy it to? And there's that boundary calc. So I'll say, okay. And now see, I've got two items up there. And now you don't see them.
Is that why the color changed?
Yeah, it just changed slightly there, but the reason you don't see this thing, and this I meant to change it and I missed it, is on that boundary calc, I meant to take this line type and make it continuous so that that was one thing I meant to fix. Now you can see them separately. Okay. So when you want to calculate the areas of those things, you would calculate using that line or that line, which is on boundary calc. Okay. So otherwise you're going to have this one. What did we have here? You've got actually 3 polylines over there. You've got one that's on boundary calc. You've got one that's on access easement. It's also that same, that would be this line style. So,
Right.
all right, let's change that color to something even more difficult, because now, all right, so boundary calc is going to be there. And then boundary would be the one that we're going to use for plotting. So we're going to need to take this segment out of either out of this big figure or out of this little figure, so that there's only one line that shows up there when we go to plot. And it doesn't matter which one we take out. So we can do that by again, your polyline utilities under edit, polyline utilities, and they are remove polyline functions, which would be remove a polyline segment. There's your icon. It's also up here on our polyline toolbar. And then we would simply pick, and because we're doubled up, make sure you're not choosing one of those that's on boundary calc, but rather one that's on boundary. Okay. And I don't know which one it took out. It either took out, let's take a look at this one. So there's my boundary around, and it says, no, it's not closed. So it took it out of the big file or the big figure. And if I choose it here, the red one or the one over there that's also on boundary, but I see that it says it is closed. So that one stayed intact. All right. Now, with that being done, and I would leave both of those layers thawed in your model space, but then in your paper space, I would double click inside it, inside our viewport, go back to our layers, find that boundary calc layer, and then come over here. Instead of freezing this freezes it globally. I want to go over here and freeze it in the viewport. So I would click under that current, that column says current viewport, freeze and thaw. So that one's going to be frozen there. And when that happens, you see, that shows up like that. Now, the reason you're seeing this is because you have one of these also drawn over here. Okay.
Right.
So, and I would think unless that line differs from your boundary line, I think I would probably take that line out instead of trying to play around with multiple layers there, because even though, you know, whatever your distance there was at a 50-foot easement or whatever that is,
Yeah.
if that's to be 50 feet off of that property line, you don't need that line, which, and I'm going to just, I'll move it out here a little bit to show you. See, there's that line. I don't necessarily have to have that line there. I just need a line that is 50 feet off of that red line.
Right.
Okay. So I move that there, and then let's just delete it. Then that will now clear that up so that looks like that. And then you would dimension your 50 feet across there. Okay. All right, let's save that. And let's see, this, oh, that was the boundary or the overhead power. Okay.
Okay, there's a corner missing there. It must be on the wrong layer. It must be on a layer that's turned off. Down in the lower right-hand corner. There's a little lower right-hand corner. Oops.
Right.
There's a deflection here.
Okay, I see that. Yep. And now, let me show you a trick about that too. If you don't know what layer it's on, and you don't want to necessarily, you know, screw around with your layer freeze and thaw status, you can turn them all on, look at it and find out what it is, and then do an undo so that it puts things back to the way they were without you having to figure out which ones were on and off.
Okay.
So come up to your layer toolbar, which is that top one, not that one, but all the way this one right up here. Now let me see, right here, Mike. See that?
Okay.
So thaw on all layers, so I'll let you drive. So go up there and turn that on. Now you see that point number 46, 3/4 inch IPF. So now that it's on, go down there and select that point and see what layer it says that it's on. And you look in your properties and I see that it's on layer center.
Centerline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made that mistake a lot.
Okay, so what I would do is let's go now before we make that change here, because it you know, you're the natural tendency would be to, now that you saw that it was on the wrong layer, you want to change the layer. But then you've just thawed everything globally. So let's put that condition back first. So we want to undo that. You might have, yeah, you've done a couple of things. There you go. Now it's back. Now the layers are back to the way they were. Now go to your layers right there and thaw center line, because that was the one where they were. There you go. Okay. Turn that off. And then you can change that to be on a different layer, obviously. And we'll look probably on boundary. There you go. Now, here's something else too, because we've seen two things now, the power poles and that point there. Now you could keep doing this just by noticing every time, you know, something's on, but it looked like, okay, center line seemed to be the culprit. So with center line still out there thawed, zoom out enough to where you can see the actual center line itself. Okay, there you go. Now let's isolate that layer and see if there are others that might still be on there. So yep, isolate center line and hit enter. And aha, you see the power pole and the X?
Yeah.
So right now, while this is still isolated, select that point and change its layer to EU OH power or whatever it was. OH wires, yeah. Now go back and grab the X, escape that so that it's no longer selected. There you go. Now, yeah, see, there's some other things too. So by isolating that layer, we're going to find all of the ones that need to be changed. Okay. And I don't know what that point might have been.
I don't either.
And you can double click it and see, maybe that'll help you, because it's still a point.
Oh, I can delete that.
All right, so that's point 303. You don't need 303. All right.
These are,
Yep, and you can select a window around or select them both. Those are your, oh, they're not power poles, are they?
no, they're boundary.
All right, so you might want to change their symbol too while you're at it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they were supposed to be power poles.
No,
Okay.
no, they were
even
rebars. I don't need them for anything, but and
Gotcha.
I may decide not to show them on the plat, but they should be on the right layer,
Correct.
which would be boundary.
Yeah. And so now,
Can I change both of them at the same time?
yes, you may. You can't change those symbols at the same time like that, like you double click them, but no, you don't want to choose point. Just escape, just draw a box around it all. Just draw a window around. There you go. There you go. Because see, it's not just a point, it's that whole group. It's a point and two blocks. There you go. Perfect.
Oops.
Now you would restore your layers, not undo. No,
Okay.
go back and redo that. Now use the, there you go. Now, you're going to restore the layer instead of isolate. There you go. You got it. Now you're cooking with gas. And you also might want to, I see that if you zoom on the corner, look at number 68, the line shows through it because remember the lines were on top. So select that one point and right click and choose select similar. There you go. And then right click and choose draw order front. Perfect. Look it up. Yeah, and up there's your, you see the OHP point number, was that 70 or 204, whichever one that was. So there's
Yeah.
that one. And again, it has the drawing description. And I would just clear out the drawing description and leave the CRD file description alone. Okay. All right, taking shape. So I would choose save. And now center line is still thawed. So if you need to now freeze center line, you can. Up. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Okay, well, I guess I'm ready to annotate some, well, actually, I can probably fumble through that on my own. Let's look at something else here that I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
This location inset map is from another drawing that we did. And we took it from the West Virginia floodplain tool.
Right.
And if you compare it to the last one we took from Google Earth, this one looks a lot better.
Okay.
So I need to do a location inset for this drawing, but I'd like to do it from the West Virginia flood map if we can.
Sure. Sure, we can do that. The only thing that we need is, and let's go back to the model space to be able to do that. We just need to make sure that we are actually in state plane coordinates.
We are.
We are, and we have to have told Carlson that we are in that projection. So up under settings, drawings, the drawing setup, even though our coordinates are correct, I need to verify, and it looks like, okay, there you go. It is state plane 83 WV north. So we're in good shape. So we can cancel that, or yeah, either one would have been fine. Yeah. All right. So now we're good to go. We just need to now go back to that. There you go.
Oops. Oh, I didn't want to pick that go away thing.
I think if you just, yeah, just come down to like go way off screen and pick another one. There you go. Now go up.
Okay, those are the parcels we want right there.
All right, zoom into where that's centered on the screen. All right. Oh, well, I wouldn't necessarily get quite so close. I mean, you could, but you want your streets to show up so they can find where they are,
Right.
all of that. So now, um, but you've got parcels on, but you see, you got some mismatch, like, over, say right here, this Sycamore Hill Drive. Uh, looks like that these parcel lines are probably, should be lining up with that Sycamore Hill Drive. They don't. Same thing with Harsh Hawks Way and this one up here. And that's just because, as you know, the parcel maps are notoriously bad.
Right.
So if you want your parcels labeled and the parcel lines drawn, then they're not going to match. You're going to, that's going to be in your location map. So you could turn off the parcels now that you've found it. And then when we bring it in to our drawing, your your already drawn boundary lines are going to show up, and they'll show up where they are. So so I would take a look at this, perhaps maybe save this map, and we'll put that in, and it will also have our drawn boundary and on state plane coordinates in our drawing, and they'll show up right where they're supposed to be. Plus your adjoiner lines will show up. And these streets will show up, the buildings, if you want them on there as well, just anything that you want. You could also, you could turn off these streets and turn on the parcels, and that would also get rid of the conflict, but then you wouldn't have your streets showing up.
Right.
I would probably do it like this. And then we would save this as a base map. Let's see, we've got that there. We've got,
I'm not sure how to save it.
oh, okay. So what we would do is, now these tools that you're looking at up here, right there with that pull down that you just did,
Yeah.
those are all just generically things from the web browser. We
Okay.
want things instead from this West Virginia flood tool. So,
Okay.
so what we want to do is look at some of these tools down here, like there's a measure, a text markup. You can clear temporary graphics, bookmark, that share window, that might be it. Here's a print window, that might be it. And this, we can add shape files, which we don't, those are GIS shape files. We're not going to add any to that. But I would maybe consider either of these two, or we would also look and see if there is.
I think you can save. Let me hit the print button here and see what it comes up and says. I think.
I'm sure you can, when you print it, you could print it to a PDF. Okay.
Should I print it and see what it looks like?
Well, yeah, I would take this title off though.
What this title?
Right there. Yep. And you might even call it location map. I don't know. We might be able to use it, but probably not. All right. Now hit the download link now. Right there. Yep. Okay. So there it is. complete with a scale and a north arrow and everything else, if you should need it. And now notice your scale is something a little bit non-nominal, but you don't necessarily need to have one. But
Well, yeah, the last drawing I did, they made me go back and put a scale on it, and I had to kind of fudge it.
okay,
Uh,
so well, let's just for now, we save this.
Well,
Now you're looking at this, you're in, there you go, you're right, that's what I'm saying, you're in the web browser, so we want to now download it. And then let's put that, you know, wherever you're working, and we'll call it location inset.
I just, there's a location PDF right there.
Yeah,
I wonder what that
let's,
is.
that, well, it could be a copy from something else, or we may have done it already. But for now, let's go ahead and change the name of this to, like, maybe put today's date, location, something, or WV flood location, whatever. And we'll take a look at what that one looks like when we work on something else here a minute. All right, we'll go ahead and save that. Now, so there was one. Now let's go back to that WV flood tool tab at the top. And that was from printing. So close that window. And also look at the share, the link right beside the, yeah, that one. And that may not have it, but what we can do is share link. We could say a map, click, center, parcel address, generate the link button for a link, and copy to paste it into, all right, that's probably not. Yeah, that's just going to make a link that we can include, say, in an email to somebody else. All right, so that one didn't do what we needed. So probably that was the best way to generate that. Yeah, to generate what we needed. I don't see any other type of export or download or any other kind of tool. I can't right click, that's just browser stuff. So yeah, that's probably that's probably it from this particular map source. Okay, so that's good. We can close this or minimize it or go back to the Carlson stuff, whichever you want. Now you're just in the browser, so that's, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Now let's go back to the file manager for a minute, and let's look at, no, I'm sorry, to down here, this Windows file.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's go to that, and let's go back and look at that other one called location map. It's probably an old one, maybe that we copied from somewhere else. I don't know. We're going to take a look and see what it looks like. There it is. It says location.pdf. That was done from back in February the 10th. Okay, so
that shows it.
Yeah, so that's that. And that looks like it's the parcels and the streets and the imagery all together. Okay, so apparently we worked on this once upon a time before and had that done there. So
See what the other one looks like.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you know what the other one looks like,
Right.
whichever one you want to use. So if you don't need this level of detail, just showing the trees and the grass, then we would look at the other one, which was that 12-10-21. It would look like that. So, and we would, we would crop out the edges. We wouldn't necessarily use this location inset, nor would we necessarily use the, all of this stuff down here.
Right.
We would trim that out. We do have that scale. Now we could go back to, let's see, that's 1 to 4,514. Typically a 1 to like a USGS quad scale is of course 1 to 24,000. We might, if we said if we set that to be 1 to 4,800, then that would be a 1 inch equals 400 feet scale.
Yeah.
So that's about, so you're close to that right now. 1 inch equals 400 feet. Does this give you enough reference with these side streets? I would imagine it does. That shows you those intersections. So no, so if we look at, let's go back to your WV map page and see if we can set a specific scale. Not the PDF, but to the browser. There you go. And then go to that tab. Now, over on the left, you see that scale that's sitting there. You can, and you see the scale down in the lower left corner of the screen that shows you what it is. See if you can, so that needs to come back, excuse me, down just a little bit. See if there's, well, that's way too much. And why didn't it change the reference?
Hard to move it.
Yeah.
That's 4,514. So what I try to do is get it to 4,500.
Well, I wanted to get it to 4,800. You want a nominal number. But see, it's not changing the number. It's still, see, if I change this to like that. See, it's still, oh, now it's 9,200. Okay, so if I go in 4,514, let me just try one little tick. And then that becomes 9,028. So what I want to do is if I can set, if I hit this, oh, that turns all that stuff on. If I can set the scale with one of these other tools. Let me see something here a minute. Don't need any of that stuff. What kind of base maps? Oh, all right. So we could be, see if any of these will give us, we're gonna leave this imagery off, I think. I don't think that's all that. Let me see. No. Let's see, this hillshade. Ugh. And this had our, yeah, that's what we did the last time. West Virginia pass leaves off. All right, that's still imagery. What did we?
I think it's Esri street map is the default when you open it up.
Yeah, okay. Let me take a peek at what this, there's Bing streets, and let's look what Esri streets. There's that, and then there's OpenStreetMap. So there's your three different styles. So if we look at here, the Esri streets don't show the cul-de-sacs, the open street. See, and that shows a little bit of additional. See this little loop and these little, that's even showing driveways, it looks like. And
Yeah, but they'll be happy with that. That they don't care about showing. All I want to be able to do is look at the location map and tell where the property is in the county.
yep. So it's whether if you want the buildings on or off. The Esri has the buildings on, the OpenStreetMap has the buildings on, but not 3D. And the Bing Road has them off. So whichever one.
I guess we can have them off.
Okay.
Well, we have to resave the drawing again.
Yeah.
We're working on the scale and we're not there yet.
Right. So what I wanted to do is see if I can set this to a specific scale. And I don't think that we can. Yeah, that's just going to set some relative scales. So if I want, so right now I'm looking at 4514 versus 9,000 something. So it's getting a little bigger. So this is really sort of as close as I could get. I really kind of want halfway in between. If I could get this to be 1 to 6,000.
Okay, what happens if you just try clicking this arrow a little bit?
It goes to the next number, which you see it goes from 22 to 45 to 92. So if I could set it to like 1 to 6,000, that would be 1 inch equals 500 feet. That's really sort of a good one to use. So what we could do then is this. We look at that now. I'm going to also take a look when we go to print it. We may have a place to change it in there, but right now I'm going to take a note of the fact that that is 1 inch, or I'm sorry, not 1 inch, but 1 to 4514. That's my ratio. All right, I'm going to keep that in mind. That means that's 1 inch equals 4,514 inches, which is 4514 times 12. I'm sorry, divided by 12. 4514 divided by 12, 376.167 inches or feet. Sorry. So 376, if I want my inset map in my drawing to be 1 to 500, then I'm going to take this PDF and I'm going to scale it up by that difference between 500 and 376. So I'd say 500 divide and then flip that. So I would insert that at a scale of 1.32992. Okay. So that may be what we need to do, is to do it that way. But let's go ahead and now hit the print button. And let's see if there's a place here that lets us set it, but see, it says map created at 10:8.28. What is that? Is that our time? That's our time.
That's the time. It's not right time, but it's time. I think we're talking about time.
Okay, so that's not going to do that. If you hit the print the map button, what does that do? Does that just go to the? Yeah. Okay.
So I still have to hit the download.
Yeah. So let's go to the download and then do your C's. There's your scale. So let's, so what we're going to do is we'll do this scale up business in our inset. Okay. So we're going, well, no, not there, but when we bring it into our drawing. So
Okay.
let's do our save. And you might as well just write over top of the old one, same name. There you go. Yes, we'll replace it. And we'll close.
Minimize it or close it.
Well, that's fine. Just, I would leave it like that. And that's fine. Now, you've got a PDF that we can use. So we need to bring that in and we're going to put it on a layer. So let's make a layer and call it, image dash location or location, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to so we're going to put that on a layer and it's going to underlie right where we're working. Okay. And you might as well, you made it current. There you go.
Close this.
Yes. Now let's go back to the final plat tab. And let's see where this one is, because that's referencing that map. If I click that up there, is that just a map that's stuck into paper space? I think it is. Yeah, okay, so you could actually delete that. And then now that's not actually part of your inset map. So just drag that off, well, yeah, you can do it that way, or I was gonna say if you need it.
Don't think we need it.
Right. I mean,
that's from another job.
Yeah, and you've got other references that you can change as you need. All right. So now we've got to get this map in place as to where it goes and get it scaled correctly. So let's go back to the model tab now. Okay, and we're going to attach this PDF. So we will see the best place to do this under. If you look under GIS, the GIS menu, I don't think this is going to be what I want. So there's your shape files.
Attach image document to entity.
No, that's where, like, if you've got a drawn, like let's say you're building over there, if you've got an old historical photo of a barn or something, you could attach it to it, so then you could link it. We could do place image by world file. but we don't have the world file. We're not gonna be able to use those things because the West Virginia flood map just generates a PDF. It doesn't give us those geo-located references. So we're just going to have to play with this as an image file, move it into place, scale it appropriately, and go from there. So if we I think my best approach here. If we all right, so we're gonna want to attach a PDF. So not on the GIS menu after all. Let's go back to our layers tool. Okay, now all the way down at the bottom on the left-hand column, the far left column where it's, yeah, right there, external references, click that. Now up there you see we had a location map. It's now no longer referenced. That was an old reference. We can actually take both of those two things out of there because they no longer apply. So click on one, shift and click on the other one. Now hit your little red X. And you also want to choose that top one, delete the record and all, no, the choice. Delete, there you go, right there. Yep, and choose apply. Now, while you're up there, click back now where it on the first row. No, on the where it reference name, I'm sorry, right there. But click in the empty line. Yep, there, and right click and choose attach or choose your new icon, either way. But we want to do a
attach or insert.
Attach. Insert would be for blocks. We're going to attach. And over in the far right, now you on the bottom where it says file name and over there it says standard drawing file, we want to pull that down and choose PDF files. Yeah. Now go up there and find. Okay. Open, and it has now been attached. Now you don't see it because it's all down at 0, 0. So we're going to go, we're going to zoom extents. So just double click your wheel. Let's see here. If I, oh, wait a minute. Sorry, Michael, I messed that one up for you. Let me go back and get you back to it here. If you go back to this external reference, I'm going to attach PDF. There we go. Now, reading the prompts, which is what I neglected to do, it's asking me which page number. And there's only one page, so 1 is fine, and that's the default. We just hit enter. Now the insertion point, just click anywhere, zoom out at about the same scale that you're, there you go. Now click in what would be the lower left, right in there somewhere, maybe a little further away. And the scale factor, just if you hit enter, that's going to bring it in at 1:1, which is okay. So we'll go ahead and choose that, or yeah. And then rotation east is fine. Now you can close this off. Now we need to sort of fudge in our scaling. So we're going to, first of all,
way down there.
Yeah, that's it. But first of all, we're gonna simply select it. And then if we, yeah, draw scale, yeah, there you go. And now over here in the scale the properties under scale. We see we've got a scale down here at the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
1. Let's make that say 6,000. That may be way too big. I don't know. Or I'm sorry, not 6,000, but well, yeah, try it and see.
And enter.
Yeah. And that's way too big, I see. All right, so let's or is it? Let me see. All right, so now that it's big, I'm going to bring the center of it down here near our property. And it looks too big. Let me try, it says try another thing. We've also got this thing here. This is adjust color for background. I wonder if this will, there we go. So that now lets me see that. I'm also going to put it in the back. All right, so now you see what we're trying to do is we're going to now need to position this or move this guy, say from there to there, repeat it again, and maybe it's from like here to here. Move this. Okay, so now from here to,
Actually, that point could be on the far edge of the property.
okay,
Over on this left edge as you look at it, this road coming in.
this coming around here, that route.
It comes in over here.
Okay. And it looks like it's probably way too big, right?
Oh, yeah.
So let's find a happy medium. All right, so if that were 6,000, let's say we're at 100 scale.
Yeah.
And if we, let's see, if that, I don't know how that West Virginia map, well, it created that sort of funky scale, but when it creates a PDF, it creates it so that it fits on an 8.5 by 11. So it's really sort of wildly arbitrary. If we, 12. I think that's way too little. Yeah, that's way too small. So 12. Try 1,200. Now, how's that? All right, so you see what I'm trying to do. So if I move let's say maybe go from here to here. Is that where we are?
No, this let me have the mouse for a
Oh, there
second.
we go.
This
Yeah,
road should be lining up with here.
yeah, so Venice Way, and this Route 45 is your Martinsburg Pike. I got you right there. We go. Okay. So if let's do an I really don't have any other references. We're gonna have to sort of guess our scales. All right, so if we were here, we move from here to here. But then we're going to need to scale that. So 1200's looking at least 2 times too big. So let's, now instead of changing that scale by properties, what I'm going to do is, now that I've got this corner sort of nailed down, I'm going to choose my scale command, which is on the edit menu, and scale, standard scale. And the entities to scale is my last one. And my base point is going to be right in here. And let's make that half as much as it was. Sort of ish. But now, see, I don't have any other reference to set. Is there anything else in your survey stuff that can help us tie any of this?
No.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do then. Let's go back to this guy. And let's turn on our parcels. And this is it. Right
And the
here.
little one beside it.
And that little one right there. Okay, so that was Venice Way, and it goes down, and right here we've got this Route 12 that comes down. So we're sort of in between those 2 roads, right?
Right.
All right, so back to here. Aha, perfect. There we go. So now we're going to scale that again with our standard scale tool. And we're going to scale from there, and this time by R for reference. And we're going to say from, say, there to there should be from there to there. Closing in, getting better.
Yeah.
Now, we've got that. We're going to see what did this get us to in terms of number. All right, so there's a scale of 309.79, which doesn't really tell us much. I was going to say if we could get to some nominal number, if we could, which do a little bit of math here. That was at 4514. 309. 461. 61. All right, so 310. Let's say 45. 14. 376. All right, I wonder if we made that 300. It may be too much. And if we move last, just sort of tweak it. So from here. And let's say all right, say from here. Now, so this Route 12 comes down to here. I want to go back and compare. Did I see 12? Actually, Route 12 is should be outside and not, well, of course, this is shifted. So if I shifted everything down, so that looks about right. Okay, so we need to sort of move again. I tried to find. I wish it would let me do this. You know, I wish I could drag it and see it as I was dragging it around and then get sort of a artistic, or not artistic, but different view on it. There's just a wee tiny bit of rotation. And I don't want to belabor this because it's going to be printed, you know, pretty small. I think.
Well, it's really just to show the county where the property is. They don't expect it to be perfect.
Right. So I think this is probably closing in on good enough. If I scooched it. Yeah, I think that's probably good enough. All right. So now we have that here. As you see, we've got it here as well. So we're going to be freezing it inside of this viewport. but we're going to make another viewport and have it set in smaller, and we'll set the scale accordingly there. So I'm going to come over to inside of this viewport, double click it, and while I'm in that viewport, I'm going to come over here and find that location inset and come to my current viewport freeze and turn it off. All right, so I'm now back to that for here, but I need to make up here, I'm going to make another viewport. So I'm going to take this and copy is one way to do it. So I'll go from that corner up to that corner. And now I'm going to select that viewport and drag it up to that corner. Now, within here, double click it inside of that one, and I'm going to turn on that location inset. And I will then reposition let's come down here and set this scale to be 300, I think. Which we don't have one there, so that's fine. So I'm going to put let's see here. To 300. Zero zero three three three. And we will not lock it. All right, so now so there it is at 300 scale. If we set it to be, let's see, 500 scale, that's what, 0.002? One inner, whoops. What's going on here? Calculator done. All right, so 1.002. 0.002. So that look about 1/5 the size of this. It looks about. Is that big enough?
Yeah, probably.
Or zoomed out enough, I mean, or if you made it 1,000 scale, you know, it would be even bigger up, but that may not. Let's see. .001. Oh, come on. Viewport. 001. All right, so that would be at 1,000 scale. And we could, but you see your map is only as big as that sheet of paper, which is right here. So we would want to sort of trim that down. And then that, you know, and we could do that. We could take this area and make that the location map and sort of bring these edges in.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Is that 1 inch to 1,000 feet? See what 1 inch to 2,000 feet looks like. That's what they like.
Oh, like quad scale.
Yeah,
Oh, you're gonna probably not.
that's going to make it tiny, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll show you. Let's see here, 0.0005. It's like that. Now, that would be good, but we would, you know, probably need a little more background around it. Otherwise, it's going to be, what is that? You know, that's just barely an inch tall.
Yeah.
Oops. Let's undo that. All right, so.
Yeah, I guess we'll go with the previous one, 1 inch to 1,000.
All right, so. Get the wrong. All right, custom sales 0.001. All right, now. So that means what we're going to wind up doing is we'll have an inset map that is roughly 2 inches square out of your sheet here, which may not, you know, wouldn't be too bad, I don't think necessarily. It's not required to be any certain size, is it?
I don't think so.
All right. So what we want to do then is take, excuse me, take this viewport. It's not locked, but I'm going to now drag this to where that corner goes off. And then double click back outside of it, and then take this edge and bring this up to inside that. Probably should clip that north arrow off there. Put it up there for a minute. All right, now. If I am.
How did those power lines show up there?
Well, because we haven't turned the layers on and off. We're looking right into the drawing, remember?
Okay.
Okay. So if we, let me select my viewport again. Well, okay. There we go. Now select. That's a viewport. Okay, so double click inside it. I'm going to go up. Oh, now I'm going to go up and over just a skosh like that. And then just a little bit, just a wee bit. Back here, and I'm going to sort of center this vertically, but I don't want to get it. See, I want to keep that road reference up here visible, so that's all good. Now, double click out of it. I'm going to now then bring this, which is just a polyline. I'm going to bring that in to match up over that viewport. But I'm also going to bring it to the front so I can see it all the way around. I will take that and bring that. Just got to do it like this. Perpendicular to that. And this one's going to be perpendicular to that. Okay. I need to be able to see the darn thing. There we go. All right. All right, so that's there. I'm going to take this. Move it up. We'll take this. Bring this up. And then over. No longer need this. We'll move this. Or maybe put it down here like so. Now, it's not. I don't know why.
We've got to tell them what the scale is.
Yeah. Tone that back down here to like so. I don't. I don't know why that word site disappears when it goes behind that. Oh yes, I think maybe. If I look at my page setup manager, I think I have to tell it to paper space last. Well, it still didn't. Are you seeing that word site? Are you seeing the letters of it?
No,
Yeah, I'm not either. And I don't know if that's because of something that Zoom's doing to it or what, because this should show up there for us. We'll take a look here and see. Now that is location map. I think we're going to change the size of these two words. Let's make them, they're almost a 1/4 inch tall. Let's make it, what's 3/16? 0.1875, so 0.17, they can be smaller, and it's not quite enough. Let's just make them there's 1/8 of an inch. One eighth is 2/16, so 4, so 5/32. Let's see what that is. So 0.1565. Fix height. 5625. Think. There we go. If we'll keep that size. And now we didn't quite get this up enough. I wanted to get that off the screen. There we go. All right, that'll work. And there now is our word site is showing up. So I think we just got some Zoom graphic issues going on is what's happening. Let's save our drawing for the moment. And this was at our 1,000 scale. So let's take this word. We'll drag it there. And it has a, that's 0.1. So we'll copy it from there down to there. And we'll make it instead of 0.1, 0.06. I want to say 1 inch equals 1 feet. And we will move it like so. Okay, now of the things that are showing here, we want to turn off like the power lines and those points and all that. Really, the only thing we want to see are the boundary and maybe that edge. So I'm
Right.
going to double click in here. And I've got this is a question, oops, crap, undo. One thing I need to do before I do anything, before I do that again, is I need to lock this viewport. So I'm going to select the viewport and either come down here and find that padlock and double click it, or go to your properties and say display locked. Okay. So now here's a question I've got is if I double click in here and if I isolate that layer, okay, so it did that. And it does work in the viewport because you see, oh no, it goes everywhere. That's what that was my question. I was going to try to outsmart it, I guess. Didn't work. All right, so we need to, while we're inside of here,
What happened to the scale?
it's just, it's this Zoom thing. It'll pop back up. It's still there. See if I do, see, you're not even seeing a window when I click with the cursor. See, I'm doing a click to drag a window and you're not even seeing that. That's just, it's just a Zoom thing here. It has to do with the fact that we've got a lot of image work going on. But what we need to do is to freeze some layers here. So now that I'm inside this viewport, if I freeze, say the overhead line, now did that, yeah, see that kept it near the viewport. All right, so I'll freeze that, I'll freeze you've got these points apparently are on boundary. Let's see here. Turn off building and the access easement, the joiners. Let's see here. Looks like I somehow clipped the image too. There we go. All right. So we've got that and we've got those things and that description. So we either need to have those on separate layers that we can control, or I'm not sure exactly what. Let me see here. If I go, and also that's a little thick for that boundary. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to come over here now, and instead of 0.5 in my viewport line weight, I'm going to tone that down to say 0.3. And I'm inclined, Mike, you've got this point here and not even sure what that one is. And this one, all right, so that T-post,
Yeah.
that's on layer boundary. And if I'm going to show these property lines here, I need boundary to be on. So T-post and C number 5 and this X, those are all three on, and these IPFs, they're all on layer boundary. Now that's, this one, obviously you do want there. Does this need to be on layer boundary?
Yeah, it does. The other one, the CR number 5 doesn't need to be there. And we can, the 3/4 inch IPFs, we can take that description off of the drawing and just leave it in the CAD file.
What do you mean, leave it in the coordinate file, you mean?
Yeah, right, right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you said in the CAD file, that was that.
Sure. No, I know, I misspoke.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so if we what's going on? Let's see. All right. So if I double click inside, there we go now. And it's let me turn off selection cycling. I don't think we have. Yeah, selection cycling should be a checkbox over here, but for some reason IntelliCAD doesn't have it, so I have to do selection cycling. It's now 3, so if I say 0, and then all right. Put it back to 3. All right, let's just go out here to model space and get it. All right. All right, now what about this T-post and this number 218 and 47?
That can be turned off. That can be deleted, actually.
Which one? Or both of them?
218. No, not both of them. I need the T-post.
Okay. Now, do you want it, does that point, is that actually in this job? Do you want to keep it in your
No.
coordinate file
Well, I
or?
want to keep it in the coordinate file, but I don't need it on the drawing.
I got you. Okay, so you know how to do all that, right? How to erase it from the screen, but not the coordinate file?
Right.
Yeah, okay. So, and you can do that simply by just selecting it and deleting it, really.
Right. That's good. That's good.
Now what's left over here, though? We got something. It's also 218. All right. That's so this is the problem with having this right over top of here is I'm gonna need to. What am I gonna do with this? Can I lock this? I can lock the layer. Now that we're through working with it. Let's see. Lock that layer. Right now. Still just makes it hard. Okay. All right, so now. All right, now here is a little something I'm contemplating a little bit here, Michael. You've got right now we've got this image, this PDF, and it's attached in our model space so that it could line up with our geometry and could be scaled and all of that. Which is what I would typically do where this geo referenced, say like a GIS file of some kind. Here's the problem with that is that I need to keep it in model space so that when I'm over here and I'm, within this particular viewport, I'm looking at my property. Okay, I'm looking at exactly what's drawn there.
Whatever happened to the scale that we put on there? It disappeared.
Again, it's still there. If we save this and let's just, I think it's a Zoom thing, video memory thing. So I'm going to do a PDF print. We'll just call it test for now. Nope, there it is. No. So there you can see it
Okay,
is up there. Now we need to fix that border issue. You know, because it's clipping off the top of our sheet. So we'll have to set that up in our drawing setup. But you can see everything's there.
yeah,
Now, here's what I was starting to say. If we wanted to you know, if we're going to be doing a lot of work, zooming in here, it's too inconvenient to have this image on underneath our feet all the time, because every time we try to select something, it's going to try to pick that image.
yeah, right.
So what I would need to do then is to freeze this image layer. So if I do that, now I can work, but then I have to remember that over here, well, it's got to be thought, and it's not like I can just do it here, because this is not the viewport I want to freeze it in. I want to freeze it here in my model space. But when I freeze and thaw in my model space, that does it for every viewport that's going to look at the model space. Okay. So the so a couple of alternatives here is if we let's see, we could do a couple of things. We could take this drawing now that you've got. This is our main working drawing, but we could just select these boundary lines and this map and put them off in another drawing, do a save as and copy to another drawing, and then externally reference that into our working drawing. But again, that has to come in. And
What did we do with the other drawing that we had this on?
I think we did this. I think we have it, but
You want to look at it and see
yeah,
where it
yeah,
is?
go ahead and find us that file and let's look at it. We either did that or no, you know what I think we did do is,
And there it is,
yeah,
Gibson minor subdivision.
right. So if we look here in model space, you see it's not. There, see, that's all of that. What's making it? What is that? It's a piece of text way out there.
Something we don't need.
There we go. All right, I'll go ahead and save that so that it's saved. Or actually, we'll go back to here and save it now. So what we did here was we downloaded this. This is the PDF, and it is only in paper space. But that PDF, if we look at that, was this one. Nope, sorry, not that one.
Well, it's going to be somewhere in that drawing file, probably. Let me see if I can find it.
Here's, let's see where it is. It's in location map clipped, which is, where is there?
It's in the file. It's in the job file. Here, let me find it.
Yep.
Location map clipped.
There you go. So if we look at that, oops. There we go. Yeah, see, this is the PDF, and all we did was draw on it. You see the parcels are on?
Yeah.
Because the roads lined up pretty nicely in there. That's why, and we didn't turn the parcels on in the one we're doing right now. But we had these on, and then we just drew this blue line because we knew sort of where it went. So this is nothing more than just an image file. And it's not, it's not referenced to your coordinates or anything like that in here. And that's all right. For that one. But then when we look at this one, this one has, we also need to, oh no, we're here. All right. So what I was thinking is if we we could sort of do that same type of thing. We would have to draw that on top of our PDF. We would draw this property, this boundary, or we have to keep track of that layer and freeze and thaw. So when it's time to plot, we just make sure we thaw layer location map. And I'm not averse to that. That would be okay. Like anything that we're going to be working on here, I would want to freeze that while I'm working on it. It might be see, I'd like to get this out of here, but I also like to keep that handy. In case any of these lines were to change, they would automatically show up in here.
Well, they're not going to change enough so that you'd ever know the difference.
Right, at this point, that's what I'm saying, but just as a general workflow, let's say you wanted to use this drawing again for another job because you subdivided the property right in half. Well, then, as you change those lines here in the model, you'd have to then, if we just had a picture of it, then you'd have to go back and change the picture and remember to do all that stuff. But as long as it's referenced to the actual geometry, then you're going to see those changes update automatically. Now, what I'm contemplating is this. We could take that PDF and just the boundary that we want to show, and let's say the property corners. So if we took this boundary and this boundary, We don't even really need the corners. Let's take that and this. And we're going to copy those things from, say, here up to here. That should be sufficiently far away. And now I'm going to get rid of this one. And then back over to here. Now we have to go up there and grab that placement where we did before. So I'm going to now use the viewport. I'm going to go back to unlock it. So I have to choose no for the lock. I'm going to click in it and I'm going to drag this thing down. Like so. Get those little lines off the edge there. Now, that looks good. And select my viewport and now lock it. Now what I did, Michael, was I used it here right under our property so we could scale it and get it positioned and do all of that stuff. You know, I did that part as we were working with it here, but because this is where I'm really working, this is my actual true survey locations. I need to keep that image out from underneath it. So when I select things, I don't have to keep bumping into that.
Right.
So once I used this location for everything to set it, I then took a copy of the geometry of this stuff down here, only the things that I really needed, which really is just the boundary and the map. And then I moved it off to the side. And then over here, I used that viewport to look off to the side at that location. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that should be.
And we need to do something. Remember when we printed it, cuts the top of that off.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We need to fix a lot of that stuff. So distance. That is a 22. So I'm going to say that's a 17 by 22 sheet. Now, we keep running into this with your folks at the county. What size paper do they want? Because every time we turn in a PDF, they come back and say it won't fit on our page.
Supposed to be 18 by 24.
Okay, that's what we needed to find out. So 18 by 24. Now, the reason we had it as a 17 by 22 before was because that's a standard multiple of a standard sheet size. And that's really the, you know, the, what they call the ANSI sheet size. These 18 by 24 things, those are your architectural sheet sizes. But no problem. So we're just going to right click and choose page setup manager. And I right clicked on this final plat label and then chose page manager. I'm gonna modify.
That isn't Summit View Estates. We're not in Summit View Estates. I don't know where that came from.
What are we in, Catro?
Yeah,
We're in the one we've been working in. What's Summit View?
Summit View is the one, that's not Summit View, that's the Gibson. We haven't looked at Summit View today.
So what have we been working on?
Catro,
I mean, did you want to work on Catro?
that's what we did. That's what we've been working on all morning.
Well, that's the one that clipped. What does this have to do with Summit View?
Nothing.
I'm confused. Oh, it's this where you saw it. Okay. That's just the name of a layout. Okay.
Okay.
So, I could delete it and save it, or if I modify this and I could just put up here, let's just call it current working. Let's call it that. All right. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about a drawing name called Summit View.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason it was because we had a thing down here titled that at some point, maybe back on that project or something, and it just inherited it. All right. So now, see this expanded ANSI? See,
Yeah.
that's 17 by 22. So we want to change that to architectural C, which is your 18 by 24.
What's the difference between that one and the one? Okay, it's 24 by 18. That one's 18 by 24.
Yeah, and that's just whether it's landscape or portrait.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to choose one. But now, down here in the lower right, you can choose landscape or portrait, and it's, who knows? Now, there should be an oversized or expanded architectural C. There it is, architectural C expanded. That's what I was looking for. All right. So that's going to be that now. And this needs to be this is lovely AutoCAD. All right. See, this is what you should be able to do, is to set that to 0, 0, and then that corner should go to the 0, 0 coordinate. It doesn't though, because AutoCAD decided in all its wisdom that they would reference the 0, 0 point to the printable area of the paper. That was back when there was only like 2 plotter manufacturers in the world. Oh, sorry, man. That's my mother-in-law at the door. Hang on a second, Michael.
Okay.
I'll be right back. Oh, okay, you sure? Yeah, I'm on a session with a client on there, but you're welcome to pop in, but you need an extension cord? Okie doke, you bet. Sorry there, Mike. You had to
Okay.
come and borrow our leaf blower, which is odd. We usually borrow their tools. All right, so now we've got to figure out whatever that's using for that offset. And I think we saw that it was minus 0.23 in the X. Ah, there we go. So we got that, and now I'm going to position this corner. If I draw from here to let's try it again. Let's draw from here. And I want to go at, and you said 18 by 24. So 24 in the X. There, okay. So there's where that corner would be. Now, you notice I'm having to draw this, Michael, because this picture of this piece of paper, I can't snap to those corners. That's another lovely thing that Autodesk does for us. So I'm going to use this. So that's now my exact corner. I no longer need that. I just use that as something to snap to. And I can then take this, which is, even though it's the same color as a viewport, it's not a viewport. That's the drawn polyline. And I'm going to then take that corner from there. Oh, I can't. I want to be able to stretch that corner without, there we go. That's what I wanted. Now, if you notice what I did there, let me show you. If you select this drawn polyline that was drawn as part of the rectangle command, you see the grips, how some have arrows as well as these corners?
Yeah.
So if I hover and let it snap into that corner grip and drag it, you see it lets me skew that. I don't want to do that. I want to go up perpendicular, vertically and horizontally. So if I select this and instead of grabbing that square grip, I grab the arrowhead. Now when I do it, you see it's keeping the sides orthogonal, which is what I want, and I'll snap to that corner up there. So now I've got that overall corner. Okay. All right, now the next thing we need to know to set that is what size border did we need? We needed a binding edge and then 2 outside edges.
I don't remember. I'll have to look at the standard and see what it was, or we can look at another drawing. Why don't we open that
Okay.
previous drawing?
All right. I mean, what's a good one? Do we have one
Well,
that,
I'm trying to hit the start page to get the, but it's not letting me do anything. The one that we just had open, Gibson, has already been approved and recorded.
yeah, I wonder why it won't let, because it's not letting me go to the start page either. I don't know. All right, let's, this one.
Yeah,
All right, was this? That's at 18 by 24, okay. So this is, if I measure. That's 2 full inches on the left. Struck me as it was not, didn't need to be quite that much. And that's 1 inch. I don't know if these are reading right. Let's see what your units are set to. Yep, that's what I was afraid of. All right, try that again. So from that corner, perpendicularly across is 1 3/4, 1.75 inches. And then the top right and left would be probably a 1/2 inch. Okay. Might as well leave that one there. All right, so we want to go 1 3/4 on the left and a 1/2 inch on the top, right, and bottom. And remember how we can do that was with our handy dandy offset tool, which is a variable offset. By line, we'll select that red polyline, which side the offset will go to the inside. And now it's asking me segment horizontal offset, and I can't tell which line it's pointing to. Maybe the one on the far right. Let's try 0.5. What? Where did this guy come from?
oh, it's a table that I took off of there.
There we go. All right, so let's do a variable offset by line, polyline to offset is that one. Go to the inside. All right, so let's try 1.75. And 0.5. 5.5. There we go. I happened to guess right. Now, normally when we're not on Zoom, you would see those little arrows show up to tell you which, which line it's talking about.
Right.
Well, we got some Zoom issues going on here. All right, so now that is where this needs to go to. So I'm going to take this corner, I'm going to grab that arrow and go up to there. I will grab this arrow and go out to there. And I think that should be all I need to do, because that puts that one there and that one there. That's all good. Okay, so that is set that. I will now select the polyline that I used to offset from that edge, because I no longer need it. I just needed it for reference to set all this other. And excuse me, I'm going to draw a window around all of this and move that from there to that corner, perpendicular up there. All right. So then that gives us all kinds of extra room to, and I'll leave that to you. I'm not gonna take a whole bunch of time to
Right.
do that. Now, where's our scale? It's like we've lost our bar scale. Let's go borrow it from this one. If I clipboard, there it is. Copy with a base point. Reference it to that scale in feet. And I clipboard paste. Also reference that to the text. And now this is 100 instead of 200. So 100. Forgot to do all of them while I was here. 200, and then that should be what, 300? That's the way I want that to read.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, I'll show you what the way I was taught to do these cartographically. Not that it matters one bit. But we'd always have the 0, 1 unit from the end on the left, and that was their subdivided unit. And then you went to the right 2 units. So 0, and it shows 100 feet to the left, 100 feet to the right, and then 200 feet to the right. That's your old school, most proper cartographic bar scale.
Okay, that's good.
All right. So what next can we squeeze in?
Okay, should we check the plotting again and make sure this is okay? Are we
Yeah.
confident?
Yeah, no, let's do that. It doesn't take but a second. I'll let you do it. So there you go. Yep. Yeah, that's fine. Just hit OK. Well, why are you changing that?
I thought you said yep when I
No, down at the OK was what I was looking at when.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and I just find test and let's take a peek.
Nope, still cut off.
Let me see something a minute. Yeah. I think we were, I think something happened. It didn't. The current work late, architect expanded C, yeah, see, that should work. I'll say, okay, I'm gonna call this, now this is in the Catro. See, I think, yeah, there it is. Nope, crap, what's going on? Somehow or another, well, see, it does say 24 by 18.
I think it has something to do with the drawing to PDF PC3.
Architect's expansion, so that's the right size. Ah. These margins. All right, apply to layout. Yeah, see, it puts almost a half inch of clip up there. All right, so let's see, we did,
Let's see how we were plotting Gibson.
Adobe PDF, okay. There we go. Could cut that down a little bit and it'll save you some file size. Ah, it's one of those cases. Got to change the orientation. And we still have this stupid. $18 by $24. $18 by $24. Man. This right here, 17.8, 23.8. That should not come up like that. See, it's not taking. It's not allowing. Well, yeah, it took it there. Okay. Minus 2. 2. What do we have for Gibson? Let's see. Minus 0.13 and 125. Okay. All right. So let's save that. Give that a whirl.
Well, the other thing on Gibson is that I've noticed, oh, go ahead.
There you go.
Let's measure, let's do
All right, so now let's measure. How do we do this? Do we do it with
There's a scale thing up there. Can't you do it from that?
that?
Yeah.
That's not a scale. That means pull the page, pull the toolbar out.
Oh,
Yeah. All right, so if we switch to edit mode. No. There, now that's a rule that we can use. Uh, all righty, now we said measure and measuring tool. So roughly from there to the edge of the paper. Looks like 1.73, so that's good. See, I can't snap.
I just wanted to make sure the overall 18 by 24 was right.
Yeah. Let me get the margins. See. Oh, really? Oh, there's a little box down the side. All right, so that's going to be 0.46. That's good. All right, and then we go from that I don't need. Let's see if I can just stretch that out. There's your 20. Let's say 24. Yeah, there's your 24. Why does the thing keep going away? Huh? There we go.
18 inches.
There you go. 18. Do it. Really, gosh, Adobe, you're so brain dead. Let's try it this way.
23.96. That's probably close enough.
Well, I think it's actually, if it's going to let me.
24.
24. So 18 by 24, and margins are good, so I'd call it good.
Okay, let me work on it over the weekend and I'll see what else is left.
Now, keep in mind, this viewport, if you needed to resize that or even to rescale it, you could. Let's say if you wanted to put that at a, if you wanted to make it a 50 scale, you know, you could make it bigger so it would take up more of the page. And
Right.
would change your text heights and all that kind of stuff. But you know, if 100 scale is going to work for you based on everything else you have to go on the sheet, that's fine. All right.
Yep.
So, yeah, all of those things you could work on your own. There's no need for you to sit here and watch me do them. You know how to put in your stamp and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Okay. And I think you're probably good to go. Anything else you can think of?
No, I don't think.
All righty. North is correct on this, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's no rotation going on. All right.
Right.
Alrighty. Well,
Okay.
I think that should get you going.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. And if you need any further on that, give me a yell. I do have, of course, we're coming into the end of the year too, but I have Monday and Tuesday of next week are both shot.
Okay.
If you need anything, and this Sunday is shot. Tomorrow is okay. If you get into something, you need something in a hurry. Of course, anytime you need something and we haven't talked about my availability, just give a yell. And if I'm able, I certainly can do it. But if I'm, away, I can let you know, but
And I appreciate that.
certainly. So anyway, get done what you need to get done. Any questions, make a list. We can go back over it and we'll get you taken care of.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, Michael, be good.
You too.